evening. 7 o'clock, we'll call this meeting to order. Can't hear me. That might be a good thing. All right, it's 7 o'clock, we'll call this meeting to order. Carissa Coates, Randy Smith, Mindy Clayton, Richard Hess, and I, Paul Jenkins, am here. We'd like to welcome everyone this evening. We would need a motion to either amend or approve the agenda. It's been moved by Mrs. Clayton and seconded by Mrs. Coates to approve the agenda. All in favor? Aye. Motion carries. Pursuant to Board Policy 4105, public participation in board meetings, the board will accept public input on any item listed on today's agenda. State law prohibits comments on matters not on the agenda. Public input will be heard at the start of each agenda section and before any action is taken. Please limit your comments to 3 minutes to allow anyone else who desires the opportunity to participate. The board will listen, but will not engage in the discussion. No members of the board may ask clarifying questions.
Thank you, Chairman Jenkins, and just appreciate everybody who came out this evening to share your thoughts with the board about this idea that's being considered. And again, I just want to emphasize that the board administration have not made any decisions regarding this idea. These public input meetings and the feedback that we receive through our surveys are absolutely essential to helping us make the very best decision that we can make. So I sincerely appreciate everybody who's taking time out of your personal evenings, some of you on your birthdays, to come and join us here this evening and share your thoughts about this idea that we're proposing. Before I get into the presentation, I think this is so interesting. So back in 1993, a prior superintendent, Dr. Goodworth, did an extensive study of facilities across the district. We kind of affectionately refer to that study as the Goodworth Bible. And so he spent a lot of time with the community at that time reviewing the facilities that we had and did a really nice report that we have continued to refer back to as we've done our facilities planning. And just, if you'll permit me, Chairman Jenkins, it is our 75th anniversary this year from the time that our school district was organized back in 1950, and there's just some really interesting statements that were made in that report in 1993 that are very, very relevant to our discussion this evening. So just starting at the start of this, he says, Bonneville Joint School District 93 has likewise been developed by men and women who had dreams of the type of education they would like for their children, as well as the environment in which they wish to receive it. Prior to reorganization, this district's area was comprised of 10 local school districts, and Ammon Independent School District was one of those original 10. And if I'm thinking about it correctly, I didn't really think through this, but I think this is one of 3 buildings that we still use as schools today that were in use as schools back in 1950 when we were organized. So that would be Ammon, and it would be Fairview and Lincoln are the 3 schools that are still standing, still used as schools today, that we continue to still plan to use as schools, and part of that original consolidation of the district in 1950. At that time, he goes on to say, during that consolidation process, there was a definite feeling of loss when the mandate came to reorganize these 10 districts into one unit. In March of 1950, it came to vote, with 673 voting for reorganization and 224 voting against. The district was then divided into 5 trustee zones with one representative for each zone. The original district trustees were disbanded. In order to accommodate the students in this newly organized district, the following school assignments were made, and I won't go through all of them, but Ammon Senior High was configured as grades 1 through 6 with grades 10, 11, and 12 for the district. So I think it's just always insightful to think about the history of the community and the school as we make these decisions going forward on how to best continue to use these buildings that we've been blessed with. There's one other paragraph I wanted to read from this, and it says, In spite of its somewhat stormy history, this district has progressed to be one of the leading educational areas of the state. Many highly successful new innovations have been pioneered and introduced into the school system. Dedicated employees, both professional and classified, have contributed to the positive image. While the problems of such rapid growth have been many and varied, patrons are to be commended for their interest and support of their schools. It's recognized that it is necessary to build schools in newly populated housing additions, often leaving the original older buildings without more updated accommodations. However, a consistent effort has been made to maintain the curriculum of each school comparatively equal. Although a great deal has been accomplished, there is much left to be done. This district, like countless numbers of districts throughout the United States, face almost an insurmountable necessity of updating, replacing, and adding buildings for education. So that was written again back in 1993, going back 32 years ago now, and still very relevant to the situation that we find ourselves in this evening. So with that historical background, just a few things I want to share about the reasons why we have proposed this idea about potentially relocating Praxium Mastery Academy, which was a long-standing program at Rocky Mountain Middle School that became its own school 3 years ago as a standalone school next to Rocky Mountain Middle School, and why we feel like it's an idea worth considering to relocate that program to Ammon in the near future. So I would say, like almost every decision that we make as a school district, it's really made with thinking about what do our students need. And Praxium has been an incredibly successful program for those students in middle school. And since we formed it as a school, and probably even prior to that when it was a program at Rocky Mountain, there's been a desire among the students who participate in that to be able to continue into that type of learning environment and that approach to learning into high school. But that is not something we've been able to do in our high schools. When we opened up Thunder Ridge, we did have some discussion about trying to replicate the program there, and that it just was not successful because it's very difficult to try to create that type of learning program inside of an existing school structure, but it's worked very well functioning as its own independent school. So that interest right now, based on the results we could get back from students when we've asked them about continuing on, we estimate about 75 students per grade level would like to carry on with that into high school. That's out of about 100 to 125 that are typically there in middle school. That would create a maximum enrollment for Praxium Mastery Academy as a 7 through 12 school of 450 to 500 students. Its current location in the CTE building, which is adjacent to Rocky Mountain Middle School, does not allow any expansion beyond 7th and 8th grade. So the classrooms that we currently have there are full, and there are no additional classrooms. We do have one modular trailer that we could add perhaps a classroom or two into that trailer, but that does not allow a full expansion into high school. The other thing we have to consider as we look at a possible site for Praxium is we've learned that while it does function well as its own school, to become, even at the middle school level, we are very dependent on Rocky Mountain Middle School to help provide elective teachers and elective opportunities for those students. As we move into high school, we would need that same proximity to a high school. So whatever site we chose, if we do decide to expand this into a 7 through 12 program, is going to have to be in pretty close proximity to a middle school and a high school to provide those same opportunities to those students. The second reason for it is as we look at opening up a new elementary school, and we're so fortunate that our patrons have been supportive of building this elementary school. This is something that was proposed more than 10 years ago in our 2014 bond. We finally got it passed, and that will add significant capacity to our elementary schools. We have experienced a significant change in the growth that we experienced in the early part of the 2000s. So this chart goes back, I've grouped it up into 5-year averages for our population to kind of remove years that were outliers. So you can see back from 1995 to 2005, our elementary population was pretty steady at right around 3,900 students for that decade. And then we started to see a rapid growth in our elementary schools, especially as new housing and affordable housing developments happened out in this rural area that makes up Bonneville School District. So as we got into 2005 and 2010 and up to 2015, we saw pretty rapid growth where that population almost doubled, going up to 6,570 students between 2010 excuse me, and 2015, which is when we built 6 elementary schools to accommodate that growth. So this upper line is the capacity, and so you can see in 2005, 2009, as we added Woodland Hills and Rimrock, and then again as we added Discovery and Bridgewater, that we added the capacity to help meet that incoming growth. And then finally, as we finished off with Mountain Valley and with Summit Hills, that our capacity really did meet our growth. At the time that we originally proposed the elementary school, we were anticipating we'd continue to see that type of growth in the district. But through a couple of really interesting shifts in demographics, that elementary growth just does not happen. And so you can see for the past 10 years now that we have not grown in our elementary student population at all. So we were 6,570 back from 2015 to 2019, and from 2020 to 2024, our average has been 6,530 students. So we've actually lost a handful. So just a couple of interesting things that are contributing to that. One is if we look at the birth rate in both Bonneville County and in the state and the country, there has been an unprecedented drop in our birth rates as a country, and we've seen that all across the board. So those birth rates that started dropping off in about 2015, but have really close to the pandemic, that has now created a much smaller kindergarten class sizes for us. So right now we're bringing in kindergarten class sizes of 850 students, and we're graduating classes of 1,100 students. And so every year we're actually starting to see students, we're actually losing enrollment. Fortunately, there's been enough growth coming into the area that throughout the 13 grade levels, that kind of gets replaced throughout each grade level. So we've been somewhat flat with enrollment instead of actually losing. But if you look to other districts in the state, they have seen pretty significant declines. So Pocatello has seen declines in enrollment, Nampa has seen declines in enrollment. Even West Ada, where there's a ton of growth, has seen slight declines in enrollment. And we saw it in District 91 next to us about a decade ago before we ever started to experience it. So, so that certainly made us think a little bit differently about what it looks like going forward. So with as we add Willow Creek Elementary that will come online in 2026, you can see that our capacity is going to go from 6,600 seats in the elementary school with a population of 6,530 students. So we have about 70 available students all across the district for that population. That's going to go up to 6,904 seats. So it's going to provide quite a few more. And then the interesting thing is, as we look at that population shift going forward, based on what we've seen for the past 5 years, I would expect that unless something drastically changes, we're going to actually see a decline in our student growth in elementary school. If we, I think I skipped ahead one slide. Yeah, those numbers, shoot, I didn't bring in that number. That's if we actually move Praxium there, then it gives us about 550 seats. If we don't, we have almost 900 seats available at the elementary level. So 900 seats that will be there and available for students without the student population right away to fill those seats up. So if you look back earlier to like the 2005, 2009 era, that's when we had the growth and we had to provide those additional seats. But without that growth, those 900 seats could sit empty for quite a while. By moving Praxium, then that number goes from 900 available seats down to 500 available seats. At the secondary level, that we've seen basically the growth that started in the elementary schools 15 years ago came into our secondary schools about 10 years after that. And so we have seen pretty significant growth in our elementaries. In our secondary schools, it has not flattened out yet like it has in the elementary. I would guess over the next 5 to 10 years, we could start to see that flattening out happen. So currently we have just under 300 available seats, 7 through 12, and that includes Technical Careers High School, that includes Lincoln High School, as well as our 3 large high schools and our 3 middle schools. If we were to relocate Praxium to Ammon, then that would add an additional 400 seats to the secondary level. So just from a perspective of using our resources wisely and efficiently, there seems to be a lot of sense to provide those additional it's about 800 seats that will be coming with Willow Creek, to be able to split those between both the elementary and the secondary level, and not just add all those additional seats at the elementary level. And then the third thing is, as we continue to evaluate the best way to balance our budget, we know that as we open up Willow Creek Elementary School, that's going to add to our ongoing costs without necessarily associated revenue to help support those new costs. And so right now we're estimating $500,000 to $600,000, maybe even up to $700,000 in new costs when we open up Willow Creek. Most of that comes from the additional staff that will need to be hired to support what would be our 15th brick and mortar elementary school. If we keep that number at 14 by moving Praxium to Ammon and sustaining 14 elementary schools going forward, it doesn't eliminate all of those costs, because it will be a large elementary school and it will require additional staffing to support that. But we have estimated between $225,000 to $250,000 savings in ongoing costs from not having to hire as many new people to staff that school. So we put that information out to the community. There was, I would say, good support for this idea. You can see that among parents there were 56% that were in support of it, and right around 10% that were opposed to it, and 34% that didn't have an opinion. On our staffing side, we had just under 70% that were supportive, and 10% that were opposed, and 20% that did not have an opinion on it. And then just in interest of the reasons why, people supported it are a lot of those ideas that I just shared, so there's not a lot of reason to go back and reiterate those. But the things that came back from people that had concerns with it, first one is the impact on Ammon Elementary School on both the staff and students, which we definitely recognize and know that this would have a very significant impact on that population. Facility and space allocation. So basically there's, in spite of the data that I shared, people don't necessarily believe that those growth trends that we've seen are what's going to continue in the future. And so if we do see a radical change from what we've seen for the past 10 years, then it could have a negative impact on our capacity at the elementary level. But it would take pretty significant, unprecedented growth in the district to really need all 900 of those seats. And then financial implications from doing this, equity and accessibility. There was some concern. Praxium, as you know, we designated as a magnet school for students that would typically qualify as gifted or at least proficient on state assessments. And so there was some criticism that program isn't available to all students, as well as the physical accessibility for all students here at Ammon. And then just looking overall at the long-term needs of the district and making sure that we're considering the sentiments of the community as we make these important decisions. So that's the story. We've talked a bit about this as a board. Just want to make sure that everybody who's here to hear public input has that explanation of why we're considering this idea.
The Ammon faculty has a presentation, please.
Hello, my name is Megan Shirley. I am a 4th grade teacher here at Ammon Elementary. Good evening, members of the board and Bonneville administration. I want to thank you for giving our faculty, staff, and myself a chance to speak about the changes that are happening to Ammon Elementary. This has been my home away from home. Sorry, didn't think I'd get emotional for the past 11 years, and this is my family. Although we are saddened by the thought of losing our beloved school, we come here tonight with a proposal to keep our family together. The first time we proposed this to Mr. Wolstenham was with a slideshow, but tonight we want you to focus on us and what we have to say. There are two things I would like to bring to the forefront of your minds. A nucleus. A nucleus can be defined as the central and most important part of a movement or group, forming the basis of its activity and growth. We here at Ammon are an organized nucleus and desire to be the central part of a building, forming the foundation for learning and growth in any students we serve. Our request is this: keep us as a nucleus team, one that is organized, already works as a solid team, and we are ready and excited to absorb all displaced teachers and staff. As a district, we recognize that the pyramid of success represents a foundational belief that applies to all learners, encompassing both our staff and students. When searching for the pyramid for this presentation, we entered these components into ChatGPT, and this is what was generated. Bonneville School District number 3 prioritizes a school environment where every learner feels safe, connected, and cared for. This focus is a core aspect of their efforts to foster a high trust culture and promote positive student well-being. They achieve this through various initiatives, including emphasizing equitable learning environments, coordinating practices across classrooms, schools, families, and communities, and fostering a sense of belonging. Do we here at Ammon feel safe, connected, and cared for? This is a driving question for us as a staff as these changes to Ammon and to our jobs were announced. The question to this question is, we could. Let us tell you how.
My name is Kimberly Davis. I'm the instructional coach here, and we just want to go through some of our thoughts on each of these topics of feeling safe, connected, and cared for here at Ammon. So, safe and secure environment. D93 implements measures to ensure the physical safety and security of all learners, and we'd ask that you keep in mind that this describes students as well as the entire staff. Lateral transition within our jobs and teams school-wide would provide our staff with a greater sense of security. We would know that our efforts to build strong teams, CFAs, etc., would be worth all of our hard work because we could start where we left off instead of building from ground zero. Our already established relationships with each other would provide us with a deep sense of security as we go forward with all of the changes everyone will be going through. Because our emotional needs would be met, we could more easily reach out to others whose jobs are changing and be a help and a support for them. We as a staff could count on our positions in the future being something that we choose and not something that we are just given. This would not be a voluntary transfer for anyone on our staff. A lot of staff members have said, I don't want a job, I want my job with my team. There would be fewer interviews to do if we were just picked up and moved together, alleviating the demand of lots of interviews for new positions. We were asked to trust you when Yvonne Thurber came in as principal of Ammon. Now we ask parents and employees to trust us, her staff of over 30 people. We have seen monumental growth in our students as a result of our teamwork with her as our lead. We don't want to lose our momentum. Everything she does is for the good of the kids. She makes us do hard things but offers support and encouragement. She holds us and herself accountable. She is qualified and experienced, and we trust her. She provides safety for us by supporting us in ways unique to many. We have a few people wanting to share some of their thoughts here. April.
So I am not April Lee, but I teach with April Lee, and I'm going to read her story of what she had last school year when we had the budget cuts. My position was cut, and I was told that if I didn't find a new job on my own, I wouldn't have a job in the district next year. I interviewed for positions. It was especially difficult to find a job because people who were planning on changing jobs decided that they needed to keep their jobs, and there were more candidates for each position than usual. I worked hard for my interviews, but each time I interviewed, I was told that I was their second choice and instructed to apply again. The interview process was rough. I had schools setting up interviews time after schools, and the secretaries had already left. I had some schools where I was locked out in the cold for over 30 minutes because other interviews ran late, and I was stuck outside. I became sick with multiple days standing in the cold and still being pushed through and tried to do my best in my interviews. I didn't have any other options. I had phone interviews set up, and then nobody called. When I tried contacting them, it turned out that they had forgot about my interview and had gone home for the day. So I couldn't do that interview, and I had to reschedule. Some schools gave me minimal notice for interviews. Then I had to move my schedule to fit the time to be interviewed. There were multiple schools that never contacted me back after the interview ended to let me know that I wasn't selected. I also had schools that gave me multiple interviews, and it took over 3 weeks to finish the process of multiple interviews, only being turned down. I had interviews when I was told that they already had someone else in mind to fill the position. So I wasn't really in the running for the job, so it was just another waste of my time. This was very stressful time knowing I might become unemployed, and even though I was a top candidate, I wasn't selected time and time again. I had to interview for positions I didn't feel comfortable teaching so I could try to secure a position at any school. I had over 10 interviews at different schools, and it took me over 6 weeks to get a job once I found out I wasn't getting my contract renewal. I finally received a position at Ammon. I have loved being here. Now I find out that I am going to have the same experience all over again after next school year. It's really tough on me. It makes me wonder if staying in this profession is even worth it anymore. There are so many things about being a teacher that is hard, but then adding things like being kicked out of our school and having to interview for jobs really piles on the hard things we do have to do as teachers. Hearing that we will have to interview for whatever position are open, this is not a good situation for any teacher to be put through. Going through the process is dehumanizing, and I wouldn't want to wish my last spring experience on anyone, let alone the whole staff as dedicated teachers like we have here at Ammon Elementary School. Making teachers have to go through the interview process because the school is closing is not the solution to this change.
My name is Aline Kovac. I've served here at Ammon as a first grade teacher for 8 years, but I've been in education since 2002. I've grown a lot in that time as a human being and especially as an educator. The most growth for me has happened when Yvonne Thurber came to lead our school. Never have I been more challenged to do hard things that were necessary for the benefit of kids. I have felt so safe with Yvonne as our principal. She truly is a champion of teachers and a champion of children. She speaks and acts with integrity. I never wonder if she's going to follow through. I never worry if she'll defend or protect me when a parent has a complaint against me. She tells me, not hints at or blames the district, but tells me what is required of me, then offers whatever support needed to do it. She requires me to lean into difficult conversations. When I'd like to run from a confrontation, she tells me, I'll sit with you if you need, but there's no avoiding the situation. I can attest to the powerful team that's been created under the leadership of Yvonne. I hope to follow Yvonne and my colleagues to another learning community because I completely trust that she and they will serve with integrity. I don't ever want to go back to what it was like teaching under the leadership of anything less. Thank you.
So our next key point is talking about being the connected and belonging. D93 strives to create a strong sense of community and belonging within schools, fostering positive relationships between students, staff, and families. Students change, buildings change, but they are not our foundation. Our foundation is the trust we have in each other as a team so we can be the foundation for any student's success. We have professional learning communities. That's been a huge thing in this district, and we've jumped right on that bandwagon. I have my own experience with something similar with the learning community. I worked here at Ammon previously as a 5th grade teacher, and at the time John Murdoch was our principal, and this was before unpacking standards and looking at learning targets was even something that the district was promoting. And even without our principal's help, we got together as a team, as a school team, and decided to start looking at our vocabulary that we used in math and ELA, and started to look at how we could move from, the learning objectives from year to year, and how we could do a lot of that vertical alignment. And we were doing really well with that. And unfortunately, there was a death of a principal at Mountain Valley in the middle of the school year, and the decision was made to move John out of our school to move over to that school. And that disruption to us basically just dismantled all the work that we had done. Not that he was the source of that, it's just that change in this community that we had here at the school, and the fact that there was someone new and someone different with their different ways, it dismantled what we had built, and we never ended up following through with those things at that time. So we're just asking that you don't take away any member of this nuclear staff, because it hurts our students by disrupting the positive things we are able to do as a staff because of the connections that we have with each other. For the first time ever, Ammon has kids progressing and testing out of needing SPED help. Due to collaboration efforts with the special education teacher, meeting with the general education teachers on a regular basis about getting on the same page concerning academic goals, accommodations, and curriculum goals, students are progressing and closing the gap with their academic achievements. They're having a better understanding of the content taught in their regular classrooms. Because of the trust and support of our staff as we work together every day to benefit our kids, we have data to prove that growth is happening. This is happening because teachers trust their principal, who works amazing with the instructional coach, who has worked to build relationships with teachers, so teachers are willing to work with me. Together, we have accomplished amazing things in the classroom. We want this type of community to continue to build so that students benefit from highly effective teaching. And we have our SPED teacher.
Hello, my name is Madeline Archibald, and I am the special education resource teacher here at Ammon Elementary. As a first-year teacher, I was accepted with open arms by the staff here at Ammon. I knew right away that this was a team that I could count on. They have helped me learn and grow in so many ways. This is a great team. The students know of our respect for each other. This has taught our students that our school can be a caring and structured environment where everyone has a job to do. Having us staff stay together will be a positive way to start a new school. I know with confidence that we will welcome other staff and show them the same respect that we have felt here at Ammon. As a special education teacher, so far I have facilitated 30 IEPs, 14 eligibility meetings, along with many other meetings regarding our SPED students. I have spent a lot of time with Yvonne and have seen the knowledge and wisdom that she has regarding special education laws and student behaviors at Ammon. She has an amazing way to explain situations, including difficult situations, to parents and our MDT team. Yvonne is a big part in uniting us. I could not have asked for a better principal to learn from. I have so much respect for her and her abilities. Our students feel safe here. They learn here. They are loved here. I know that if we have done that here, we can do that at Willow Creek or wherever else we are moved to. We can provide the same feelings of growth, love, and learning at that other school. It is important for you to consider keeping us together and keeping us in our current positions without the need to reapply. Thank you.
And then in our section of cared for and supported, D93 offers various programs and resources to support learner well-being, including those related to mental health, social emotional learning, and family support. We ask that you remember the people in the policy. We may not see everything the district leadership is seeing from their top floor view, but we are the ones that make the pyramid of student success succeed. Don't forget to look at things from a ground floor perspective. We're going to be traumatized by the loss of our school and our students. Please help alleviate some of that trauma and the disruption to learning caused by trauma by keeping us together. People are watching to see how this district treats their employees. We are not just speaking for Ammon. We are not the only school with anxiety about our positions. We are, however, the only staff that is being completely dismantled. Because we are so bonded, we could draw in new staff and help them feel welcomed and valued. Emotional security puts us in a place to help others instead of dealing with our own difficult feelings. Having a functional, foundational team, a strong nucleus, benefits the transition. Let us be the nucleus. We have another story.
I'm Holly Poole. I teach 6th grade here at Ammon. This is my 8th year here. I've taught kinder, 2nd, and 6th grade. The possibility of what might happen to Ammon Elementary is deeply painful to our staff. For those of us that work here, who have poured our hearts into this place every single day, this change will not just be a transition, it will be a trauma. We have built our lives inside these walls. This will be a loss of identity, a loss of connection, and a loss of community that we built through years of love, labor, and loyalty. We aren't just coworkers, we're family. We catch each other when we fall. We lift each other up when the weight of this work feels too heavy. And we celebrate each other's successes. And these beautiful people that work here are part of the reason why when I got diagnosed with cancer, I was able to get through it because I came here every day with these people and they lifted me up on my bad days and they celebrate every little success I have when I go in and for all my checkups. But that being said, we understand that change is necessary and we can see the benefits of turning Ammon into Praxium, but to close our school and scatter our staff across the district will be traumatizing. We will be losing our home, our kids, and our community. So please help please help alleviate some of this trauma and let us stay together. We're going to need each other more than ever to get through this monumental change.
Good evening. I'm Millie Brown. I am the librarian here. I have been the librarian for 13 years. You have just heard how we have taken your pyramid of student success and applied it to how it hopefully you see how it applies to us too. That we need to feel safe, we need to feel connected, and we need to feel cared for. And I hope you felt that. But also, we understand that you're looking at this from a financial perspective. And so, understanding that, we'd like to address that as well. We understand that you have fiscal responsibilities related to various aspects of its operations, including business operations, child nutrition, federal programs, and human resources. That's us. To ensure the proper and efficient use of public funds for the benefit of students and the community. Moving the staff as a nucleus saves hours of redundant interviewing. We've interviewed once. We're experienced. We're here. Why go through the interview process again? This is especially concerning for people that have worked less than 3 years and they aren't on a continuing contract. They don't want to be put in the pool with the same chance as the student teachers that they just helped get through their student teaching year. Any team member, well, and also with all displaced staff, could be laterally moved to join our team. Theoretically, we will have, even though there will be a restructuring, there will still be the same number of third grade teachers needed as were just needed in different schools. So we can be the nucleus team and invite those displaced teachers to laterally move with us. Any team member who needs a different option for personal reasons could choose to apply for another position as a voluntary transfer. Now, it's been stated that we can't be moved as a nucleus and that we would have to reapply because this is a voluntary transfer. I see no volunteer in this room. Costly restructuring will be minimized by moving our staff as a nucleus. As I realize that other staff at other schools are also anxious about what will happen to their jobs as their schools are restructured and crowding is alleviated and staff needs to be moved. But by having our staff as the nucleus, other staff at other schools that are experiencing the anxiety of possible displacement can visit us on a PLC Monday and see how they will fit into our team and begin to share their ideas and perspectives. By doing that, they will already be bonding with us and sharing their perspectives and planning for the new school and the new structures and be able to hit the ground running. I also know that the last time there was some restructuring done, that there was a lot of pushback on staff that didn't want to leave, like at the middle schools, and they had to be forced to go. You may find that by offering a nucleus team that others can come visit and see if they fit in the team, you may see increased employee morale and more willingness to move and adjust despite the need for involuntary transfers. Less disruptions to teams mitigates unnecessary and costly relearning time. It takes time to put together a team. And if you have a team that is already a foundation, then that is a strong foundation to just bring others in instead of going through that year-long process. Often it is a full year long before you even start to work together as a team. All of this impacts the financial benefits, and we have a story about that. Natalie?
Hi, I'm Natalie Capson. I am in my third year as a music teacher here at Ammon, although this is my 7th year here. While the district invested in each of us when we were hired, like many teachers and supporting staff do, I have invested far more into my job and into my previous jobs here than the district has compensated me for. I don't know if I want to keep teaching, but it would be a shame to walk away now. I understand District 93 wants the very best teachers and employees, and I agree. But if District 93 isn't careful, they might unknowingly and ignorantly, or maybe even arrogantly, drive away their best help. My driving point is this: while the district has invested in us, most of us have invested far more into our jobs. Some teachers and staff members may want to explore new positions, but if a first grade teacher has been a first grade teacher, likes being a first grade teacher, and wants to stay being a first grade teacher, then they should be the first to be offered a position as a first grade teacher at the next school. If the district feels they can shuffle people around wherever there are openings, they will have a hard time keeping the best teachers and supporting staff. They won't ever see a return on their investment, and they will be pumping money into a perpetual turnover cycle, which is not only bad for the teachers in school, but really bad for the students. If District 93 is going to use tax dollars wisely, then they need to take care of the people they're investing in, the people that in many cases have gone above and beyond investing their own lives into the children they teach.
I visited my sister-in-law this weekend in Boise, and she is a 5th grade teacher in Nampa. And she mentioned that they are also going through some restructuring. And she said that she is currently on a team of 6 teachers. And with the restructuring, that her team will be cut down to 4 people, and 2 people will move on. And she said that her district is doing that restructuring by, they put out a survey to each one of the teachers to respond with their top 3 choices of which school they wanted to teach at and what grade they wanted to teach at. And that restructuring is happening by their interest rather than by having to reapply and interview. And also she said that the 2 that they know will have to be cut from the team, the district has already said that they are keeping those 2 together as a nucleus team to move, so that because they understand and value the effort that goes into creating a team and the value that it gives to the students to have that structural foundation when they begin school. When I said, oh, that's interesting because I just got my 1-year notice, and I was told that after Ammon closes, I will need to reapply. And her comment was really telling, because it wasn't based on having to interview for the new job. Her comment was, why would they destroy teams that way? Don't they understand how much effort goes into building those teams? So I ask you to please consider that. You may think you're making it fair across the board to have everyone reapply when a new school opens, but it is not fair to the students to put the teachers they depend on in that much turmoil. So a couple years ago, the district put out your new, I don't know if you want to call it a slogan or a campaign, about "We are D93." We all have t-shirts and jackets, and that was your effort to help us feel connected to you. And it was working up to this point. We believed those newsletters you send out every week with those inspirational thoughts on how teamwork is everything. But we're not feeling it right now. So some of those quotes we took to heart, and we're wondering, why are you not? And I would like Tressa to come share some of those.
I'm Tressa Packer. I teach 4th grade, and I've been in the same room, 4th grade, for 11 years. I am proud to be part of a dedicated, resilient, and passionate staff at Ammon. While change can be exciting, it also brings uncertainty. We as a staff are not here to resist progress. We are here to advocate for a thoughtful transition. Rather than disband a cohesive team that has built a strong culture of learning and support, we are asking to move together as a nucleus to the new school. To welcome new teachers, yes, but not to start over from scratch. We believe the foundation is already strong, and it's one worth building on. We have worked together for years through challenges, through growth, and with deep commitment to our students. As the district has acknowledged, design success for every student with focus on the right work and collaboration. That is exactly what we've been doing. Our results, our culture, and our collaboration reflect that. Senator Dave Lentz said, "We have one of the flagship districts in the state. I know personally of the work they do." House Chair Julie Yamamoto praised our laser focus. That focus, that work, that success was built by people together over time. The district has recently drawn inspiration from the boys in the boat, and so have we. One quote stood out: "Great crews have no stars. The team effort is all that matters, not the individual, not the self. We live this every day. In our school, there are no solo acts. We move as one crew. Our students don't just benefit from individual teachers. They benefit from the synergy of a team that knows, trusts, and strengthens one another." Another quote reminds us, "The steepest challenge, each member must recognize their place in the fabric of the crew. It is an exquisite thing when it all comes together in just the right way." We've done that. We've become that exquisite thing through years, tears, and hard work. It does not make sense to ask each of us to reapply, to be evaluated apart from the very fabric that makes us successful. When a coach sees the boat moving in perfect rhythm, they don't break the crew up. They build around it. Yvonne's addition to our team was like finding a missing link. Together, we've experienced the reward of watching our students soar beyond what anyone expected, sometimes even beyond what they expected of themselves. We don't want to start from scratch. We want to bring what works and grow from there. The district has said, social connections and relationships play a crucial role in shaping and sustaining a positive mindset. They boost motivation, resilience, and a sense of purpose. Why would we sever those relationships when we could strengthen them by staying together? Why disrupt what already provides emotional support, collective efficacy, and a proven growth mindset for both staff and students? Finally, let's remember what the district said about leadership. The supreme quality for leadership is unquestionably integrity. It is the heart of character, the light that shines when high principles are placed over personal gains. That principle sounds beautiful on paper, but what we ask is don't forget the people. The heart of this school is not just its mission statement, it's the people who show up every day to live it. Let us move together. Let us stay intact and bring our culture, our commitment, and our success to the new school. Invite others to join us, absolutely, but don't start over when what we have is already working. We deeply respect the work the board is doing. We're not asking for special treatment. We're asking for wise, human-centered leadership. Let us keep rowing together. Let us build on what we've started. Let us keep students at the center and the team at the core.
Thank you for allowing me to speak. My name is Jay Van Loren. I have worked here since October of 2013. So more than 10 years now. And I want to tell you one thing about this community. They are my family. They are a group with warm hearts. They work together, and I love these people. They're wonderful. If you don't mind, I have a quick story from my personal experience. In the 1970s, there was a community by the name of Roberts. I don't know, it's about 17 miles north of here on I-15. At the time, Jefferson School District in Wrigley decided to merge and assume the Roberts School District and merge them into one final district. So they closed the elementary and middle schools. It had a horrific impact on the area, on that community, on those families, and on those students. There was protests, there were complaints from the community It got ugly. But the closure happened, and the teachers were dispersed. They forced the teachers, several of them, to retire. Others lost their jobs. Others had to transfer to compete for new positions. It affected the entire student body that was forced to go to West Jefferson Middle and High School. They forced them to transition to Midway Middle School in Rigby. There was a huge disconnect that happened within that community. The point is, we've seen this happen before, and our fears are justified that we will lose that family relationship, that strong team that has been built here. That feeling of support, we don't want to lose that. And I don't want it. From the first day I came here, I felt a spirit of support, of collaboration, of teamwork. I felt very welcome here. Wherever we go, the hope is that we will be able to keep that spirit and take it with us. So thank you for listening to us tonight.
Any questions you want to ask us? Okay, thanks.
All right. We will do public input. Let me just read this policy one more time. Public input. Pursuant to Board Policy 4105, public participation in board meetings, the board will accept public input on any item listed on tonight's agenda. State law prohibits comments on matters not on the agenda. Public input will be heard at the start of each agenda section and before any action is taken. Please limit your comments to 3 minutes to allow anyone who desires the opportunity to participate. The board will listen, but will not engage in discussion, though members may ask clarifying questions. Someone would like to do public input?
We didn't do a sign-up sheet tonight, so
If you'd like to come to the mic, please, your name, and that's all you need, isn't it?
Hi, thank you for having this meeting for us tonight. A special ed para for 3 years now here at Ammon, and I've been a parent in our community for 10 years. I've witnessed remarkable growth and success in our special education students. Under the leadership of our principal, Yvonne, and our dedicated teacher, Madeline, their shared priority, along with the entire MDT staff, is to cultivate an environment where students feel understood, safe, and supported. Madeline's exceptional ability to collaborate with teachers ensures that all of our students, both on our caseload and those not, receive precisely what they need to thrive academically. This collaborative spirit is fostered and evident in our book studies, observation opportunities, one-on-one coaching with our instructional coach and principal, and with supplemental education courses. Personally, this staff has been a critical support for my family as we have gone through 2 overseas deployments. They have helped my children feel a deep sense of trust and stability that they offer are testaments of their integrity, their commitment to high standards, and strong support they receive from administration, ultimately allowing them to focus on what truly matters, which is our students. Thank you.
My name's Jordan Mobley. I'm a parent in the district, and my lovely wife is the secretary here at Ammon. I've watched this lovely group of people agonize over this day for weeks now. They're very concerned, and I have to say that as a person watching from the outside, as a parent in the district, I also have questions why you would take a team that has really, in the past few years, come together and are genuine friends. I mean, my wife and some of these ladies all work out together. They go do things outside of work. They genuinely care about each other. It's not just a job. And so to see a possibility that you could just take these people who know each other, support each other, and love each other, and just kind of tell them, you know, tough luck, we'll do what we can, but we have no guarantees for you, not only is hurting them, but I think hurts the district as well. Like they've mentioned, you know, some of these people have been teaching together longer than I've been married to my wife, which is wild to look at a relationship like that and look at people who can navigate, you know, students and things like potentially their school closing and still find time to do their best jobs. I really think that you guys would be doing them a huge disservice, as well as yourselves, by scattering them. That's all I have. Thank you.
Hi, my name is Leslie Hoops. I have 2 kids in the school district, Mountain Valley Elementary and Sand Creek. And my son is going to Praxium next year for 8th grade. And I think it's interesting, I heard the word displacement so many times because that's the same fear I have with my son going to Praxium next year, is it's 1 year and then he has to go back to Hillcrest and potentially lose out on all of those social situations that at this adolescent age is one of the most important things in his life. And I'm so terrified as a parent to balance an awesome opportunity for him, but also going back into the school system and wondering how that's going to affect him. But I'm also an educator. I taught at Thunder Ridge High School for 2 years, and now I'm an administrator. And it pains me, not in this district, sorry. It pains me to hear everything that they're going through and what you're going through. And if the board has to make the decision to separate the team, I want to give insight to my experience at Thunder Ridge. We were lucky enough when we opened to get experienced teachers from all of the schools. And I don't want to separate them, right? I don't want you to have to separate them. But if you do, I would love to ask that you talk to some of those Thunder Ridge teachers, because I give so much of what I learned from teachers from Bonneville and teachers from Hillcrest and teachers from District 91, and they all came together, and my PLC team was stronger than I've ever experienced at any other school district, because I got to learn from individuals that learned from amazing administrators, apparently, that you guys have. And so although I don't want them to be separated, I can say that if you have to make that incredibly hard decision as a school board, take light that I thank my PLC team at Thunder Ridge High School specifically from all of the experiences that all the individuals brought to the table, like some of these ladies and probably gentlemen that aren't here to represent them would bring to their new schools. Thank you.
Hi, I'm Amy Sobreros. I serve in a couple different roles. I've been doing PTO for the last couple of years, and then I was hanging out at the school so much, I decided I wanted to play dodgeball with the kids, so I also teach PE this is my 2nd year. So I'm super invested, and I'm gonna be talking, 1 from a parent standpoint, and then 2 from a team standpoint, or I guess they're both kind of PTO standpoints, but and I don't want to necessarily speak for all the parents, but I see some of my other fellow parents here. I've had kids going to school here since 2016, and even though this building is super old, it has been home for my kids, and we've had incredible teachers. And as a parent, all of the parents that I've talked to one of their major concerns, obviously, is where will our kids go? Do we know? But also, what will happen to the teachers? And when I say, oh, well, as of right now, they've been told they need to reapply and just find somewhere else in the district, that they will have a job, but not sure where, that has not sat well with the parents that I've spoken to. Again, I have not spoken to every parent and the 305 students we have here, but that does not sit well with the ones I've spoken with. So I wanted to say, as parents, we want to see these people that we have trusted with our most precious possessions taken care of, so that they can continue to take such good care of our precious possessions. And then the second thing was, a couple of years ago when we were told that Yvonne was going to be the principal. Oh, it's probably the ghosts. They're here, yeah, they're here. They just want to be involved. They're cool, don't worry. So I came to talk to you specifically, Scott, after a district PTO meeting, and I said, hey, I've been hearing some crazy stuff about this lady that you want to give us over at the school. Like, help me help you, because I have parents who are freaking out and saying they're going to try to transfer their kids and move them to different schools. And you said, I mean, basically you asked me to trust you, that, and parents to trust you, that you feel like she would do a good job. And I'm happy to say that you were right, and Yvonne has done an incredible job. Obviously, this team is here wanting to continue to be with Yvonne. But also, I can tell you, our students, I mean, she doesn't let them get away with stupid stuff like my son that's in 6th grade, but the kids love her. So I just want to say she's done a good job, so thank you. And we appreciate your time and listening to us.
In, and I think I'm the only one that's used them. So my name is Yvonne Thurber, and I'm the principal here. And I just wanted to share a couple thoughts. I think one of the only places I see God's face in our society is in the children we teach and in the teachers who teach them. Principals are not different than their teachers. They're just, they just have students that are a little more grown up most days. It is our job to love and support the teachers so they can love and support the students. It's a pretty simple formula, but we really seem to be able to make it complicated. I don't care where I do it. I just want to keep loving and supporting the teachers at Ammon and any other teacher that needs it, so that they can keep loving and supporting kids. Just like our students, every teacher comes with a backstory that makes them who they are. When people are able to find a place where they feel safe, appreciated, and cared for, they don't want to risk losing that. I don't want to see the teachers at Ammon lose their safe community. And I believe it's short-sighted to think that won't be lost if there isn't a plan to prevent it.
My name is Kimberly Porter, and I don't do this. That's how you know this is important to me. First of all, just as somebody that lives in this quiet neighborhood, I'm concerned if we add another high school, the traffic just to get out of my driveway in the mornings is like 10, 15 minutes, and I'm really concerned about having the more traffic of having a high school and a middle school in this quiet neighborhood. That's aside from what I'm gonna tell you next, and I'm gonna read it because my brain is scrambled. And what I say may not change what you decide to do, but I want to honor what Ammon is. In my job, I talk to people a lot about progress. And we talk about progress we can measure like on a rating scale. And then I talk about progress that is immeasurable because it's not quite tangent. And maybe it has to be experience. I've seen the results of the poll, and I understand there are complex issues of managing the needs of an entire school district. I don't want to minimize that. But there are things you can't measure in a survey, and those are the things I think truly matter. You can't measure the culture of a school. Our family started as a charter school family. My oldest, who was 19, went to a charter school until 3rd grade, and then we've been an Ammon family. All of my 5 children have been loved and taught here, and are still taught in this culture. You can't measure the heart of teachers who have picked up the pieces of my lack at home, or the moments that their love has buoyed our children. You can't measure the connection we feel as an Ammon community. It has been built for years. You can't measure what happens in these walls that touch us on a human level. In fact, it's difficult to describe this place because you can't simply create it. It is built moment by moment by teachers, administrators, support staff, students, and parents. What has been built by these moments, and probably some tears and hard times, is worth preserving. I think it is worth consideration to keep Ammon as this elementary. Please consider what we'll lose that's immeasurable by repurposing this school. If this change has to be made, these teachers are the key to this the immeasurable success of this community and deserve to be kept together as much as possible. They are masters at teaching and masters at touching the hearts of our families. I will forever be grateful for the impact they have had on my family. They have changed our family in ways you could never measure. Thank you.
Okay, I am a 1st grade teacher here at Ammon. When I first started, it was kind of a bumpy start because didn't have very much time to prepare. But that didn't stop my love for these kids and all the fight that I have for them. I am going to be losing my kids who will forever be in my heart. Don't make me lose my team and my family here at Ammon.
Hi, my name's Rachel Doman. I don't do this. I don't like getting up in front of people. I don't work for Ammon. I'm just a mom. And I am a mom who doesn't worry because I send my kids to school every day, and I know that these amazing educators love them and care for them. And I know that other educators can do that too, but this team is awesome. My Max had the awesome opportunity to be under Miss Saladonis's care when she taught kindergarten. And he and I attended her funeral services. And there was a whole team of Ammon educators there as well. When they talk about being a family, they really, really feel that. I've watched as Mrs. Thurber, who is new to our school in the last couple of years, is in the cafeteria at lunch. And as busy as a principal and administrator is and all the things that she needs to do, the kids know her and they see her and they see her love. I've watched her, as a 1st grader, cried by himself at a lunch table because his mom forgot to pack him a lunch that day. And she walked right up to him, picked him up, and got him a hot lunch so that he could have lunch that day. Those are the kind of experiences that our kids have had here, and I appreciate that. My question, I do have a question as a mother. Is there, because there's lots of talk, it sounds like, and the numbers and surveys and things like that show, is there a plan, or what is the plan or the idea for what will happen with the children that do go to this school, that have not just an awesome educational staff, but a friend staff, that have these friends that they are building that at any age can be hard to say goodbye to friends and say goodbye to teachers and move on. I have a 2nd grader currently. I have a 8th grader at Sand Creek, and I have a kindergartner that will be starting in fall of 2026. So just wondering if you have proposals or ideas for what will happen to the kids at this school if this school were to move forward and turn into Praxium.
I appreciate that question, and it actually ties into one question we had on line as well, so it's opportune time to address both of those. So the reason why we're discussing this now is because we have to know, as we draw new boundaries for the opening of Willow Creek, whether we're drawing boundaries for 15 elementary schools or 14 elementary schools. What I do know is, as we look at those growth patterns that have happened in the district over the last 10 years, we're starting off with a brand new, fresh map as we draw those boundaries. And so I would say there's a really good chance that literally every school is going to be impacted by boundary changes when you open up this new school. And so I can't answer what happens to the kids here, because it's going to be a brand new map. And the one thing that is unique to Ammon, just like with the faculty, and that is if the idea is approved to move Praxium here, every student at Ammon would end up attending a different school. I just can't tell you where that is, because we haven't started the boundaries, because we don't know if we're drawing them for 15 schools or 14 schools. To the point with a question online is, when will we make a decision? We have to work on those boundaries this summer, and so we have to make a decision before, I would say the very latest would be the June board meeting. I'm kind of hoping maybe May. The board will have a really good discussion about this in our work session on Wednesday, and then from there we'll be able to tell people whether it looks like we'll make a decision about this in May or April, but when it comes, May or June. And then the intent is to have boundaries out to the public early next fall.
My name is Melissa Johnson, and I am a parent of three children that belong here at Ammon. If this does take place, and these teachers don't have an assurance of being together and being in one spot, I am concerned about the morale of teachers who are unsure about their future. I can see how it could affect their emotions, and even though they will do their best and they will serve our children well, I can see that can take a toll on each teacher and together as a team. And so I think that's important for the teachers to have that assurance and that knowledge that they have each other going forward if this is the change that is made. Thank you.
Sorry, am I allowed to ask another question? I know I already talked.
Go ahead.
Okay, someone just texted me. They were just asking. I am spending my birthday with you guys. Very happy to be here. Someone was asking me, how long will the school board accept feedback from parents that weren't able to come to this meeting? If we're not you're not voting until May, so they have the next couple weeks to do it, yes? That's what I was thinking, but before I press send, since you're here, I could just double check.
Yeah, so they're welcome to send in email comments to the board right up till they make a decision. They can send it in after they make the decision. Sometimes that happens, and we get the feedback afterwards. As far as public input, there would be another opportunity before a decision's made, and so that, again, I'd say watch the family update to see if this is going to be on the agenda for the May meeting or the June meeting. But they'll have another opportunity to come and speak to the board personally.
Okay, cool.
Thanks, Amy. you okay? So I put it in the chat, but just, we do have some people, I think, that are still on the Zoom meeting. So just want to give people one more opportunity on Zoom. If anybody wants to speak to the board, then you could unmute yourself now and hopefully turn on your camera and speak to the board.
Hearing none? No, absolutely. Absolutely.
So again, just like I said at the start, appreciate people coming here. I know this is like the least comfortable situation I think we could put people into. So I know it's not easy to speak in public, not easy to speak to the board, and I really sincerely appreciate the feedback, because it is how we make good decisions and how we help make the right decisions. So I just want to reiterate a couple points here, and I'll talk to the board about these points on Wednesday as well. So number one, when we met a couple weeks ago, I do want to emphasize that what I shared then is what our current policy is, and what our policy, how our policy has worked with the opening of lots of elementary schools over the past 20 years, as well as our 2 secondary schools. I also want to, I know sometimes as we have long discussions, things I say can get lost, and so I want to really emphasize a point that we also are in an unprecedented situation, and I totally recognize that. And so just because something has worked in the past, when we're talking about displacing an entire faculty, I do think that means we've got to take a step back from what we've done in the past and take a fresh look at it and decide, is that still the right course forward, or do we need to think about this differently? So if I wasn't clear in saying that before, I want to make sure that you hear me tonight, that that's why we're having this meeting. It's why we'll talk about this with the board, because I do think when we're doing something that we've never done before, we have to think about things differently than we've ever thought about those before. And then this probably isn't helpful, but it's something I've just thought about since we met, and that is, you know, I hope you got the email that I sent as well, acknowledging that there are things I could have done in communicating differently. And as I sat up here and listened, I kind of recognized where one of my missteps in my thought process was, and that is, we've talked about Ammon and doing something different with Ammon for a long time. I think probably ever since I've been in the district, so going past 20 years now. It's been a school that we've continually talked about. If we look back in the study that I quoted from 1993, they were actually recommending closing Ammon back in 1993. I mean, that's the reality with this school. And so my mistake was thinking, well, we've talked about this, and so this isn't necessarily a surprise. But as I reflected on our thought process before, and we talked about with Ammon, it was, in my recollection, at least since I've been doing the facilities planning and helping with that for about the last 10 years, it was with the idea that we would build a new school to replace Ammon Elementary. And with the shift in our growth patterns, that's not what we're talking about anymore. So if that were the case, right, if we were building a new Ammon Elementary School, then I think what had been proposed tonight would probably likely be the logical approach to taking that. So I think that's worth merit, that if we had thought about that, or if we had built a new school and said we have a new Ammon Elementary, it's going to be out south of town where the growth is, and then we'll reuse this, the chances are we would have done exactly what the recommendations are tonight. So anyway, just something that I've been thinking about, reflecting on with the presentation tonight. But thank you so much for being here. I know the unknown, I apologize, it sucks. There's nothing worse than the unknown, and we will try to make decisions that we can communicate to you to take that anxiety and that fear away, because I know that there's nothing that creates anxiety more than the fear of the unknown. So I appreciate the board coming tonight. I appreciate everybody that attended, so that we can have the input and we can have, I think, much better informed discussions and decisions as we go forward with this. Oh, thank you. So there's a question online. I think it goes to everything that was just talked about. So is it okay to ask why it wasn't proposed to have Ammon staff move to the new school? So again, just for clarity, the first reason why it wasn't is because we haven't made any decisions. And so until we make a decision about this, then we haven't taken that next step of saying, okay, now how do we handle things like boundary changes for students? How do we handle things like staff transfers? So we didn't fully develop a plan of what would happen if this idea were proposed. We wanted to find out what the overall sentiment was around the idea first, make a decision on that, and then start working through the process. So our current policy on transfers doesn't necessarily align with picking up a whole staff and transferring them, but again, I think if we were building a new Ammon elementary school, that's likely the approach that we would take with that. As we're relocating Praxium to this school, that's what we're talking about with that. So I do think there's merit in discussing that idea with the board, but that will take us doing something different with our policy than we've done before.
Policy doesn't, sorry again. So the policy doesn't say we can't do that.
So what the policy says is, as it was talked about tonight, is that people would apply for positions, and I do think that I actually appreciate the question because it helps clarify some of the things. So any teacher who's on a Category 2, Category 3, or continuing contract has equal opportunity to apply for any open position in the district. That's what our voluntary transfer policy says. Involuntary says that we don't have a spot at a certain location and now we have to move you to a different school so that you continue to have a teaching position with the district. So I know it doesn't feel voluntary, but that voluntary part comes in with the fact that as a teacher, any teacher has the opportunity to and the right to interview for any open position that they hold the correct certification for inside the district. And then what we would do differently with, and this is what we did again with Thunder Ridge and with Black Canyon, is we would not interview external applicants until all of our internal teachers had their positions for the coming year.
Yes, you may. Certainly. If you'll come to the microphone, please.
Yeah, don't just shout it out, that's rude. And unprofessional.
Rude and unprofessional. They know me very well. So a lot of the questions that I have had from staff have actually been from classified staff. And I know that in the meeting that we had with Scott, there was only one question asked, and the answer to the question was, there will still be the same number of classified individuals needed. The question I'm getting from staff is, but if I'm a classified staff, does that mean that if the same number of jobs are needed, then I automatically transfer to where a job is open, or does that mean that I then also have to apply and I'm going to be, and I'll just be really transparent, if it's a secretary or if it's someone who works in the office or a paraprofessional that's hired at the school level, the likelihood of being hired if you don't already have, or going against someone who's going to be hired that maybe has a prior relationship with a principal or with someone in the building, makes it so that you're less likely to be hired. So those people are feeling even less secure in their positions. And so that's where I think a lot of the angst is coming from our building.
Yeah, so while we don't have a formal policy on it, you can go back to our track record with Thunder Ridge and Black Canyon, and that is no classified staff lost their positions when you opened up the new school. And so similar to the certified, we would make sure that our people that have their positions have a job before we open those up to external applications. We don't want to displace our current employees with external applications, so we would wait until everybody has their position and then we'd start opening up new positions.
Would anyone else like to make a comment? Does the board have any questions? Clarification?
We deeply appreciate
you coming tonight and expressing openly your feelings and opinions. I have to tell you, I have a soft spot in my heart for this school. I went to this school while it still had high school students in it. Back in 1953, was it, Scott? My mother taught here. And we commuted from St. Anthony every day to come to District 93. There was a great deal of concern at that time. That's when the district had been realigned, when the state mandated that it had to be consolidated. And there were feelings, hard feelings. And I think this board will try to do everything we possibly can to make the right decision. I think that's a very, very important thing to do. I don't know what that's going to be right now, but certainly your input tonight will be taken very, very seriously. So thank you again for coming. We really appreciate it. Carissa, it's your job. Oh, yes. Do we have any upcoming board meetings, items for upcoming meetings? Okay, certainly.
I would like to discuss two in our work session. The first, looking to review our policy regarding the topic we've had and look at putting an exception in for school closures. We haven't had very many. I remember Iona was closed, but built right next door. And the second one is reviewing state law and school policy regarding meetings similar to this, of what the board can and can't say, simply because this lady asked a question of the board, and I thought the chairman should have answered it. And by this statute that you say that we cannot engage in discussion other than asking clarified questions. So I'd like our legal counsel there and review the state law and our board policy that prohibits us from engaging in a more favorable dialogue. These folks don't even know what our thoughts are. And it seems to me there should be a better way to do it than what we have. So I'd like those two things added on there.
Thank you. Any other items?
Are we going to have an executive session this week?
There's a brief one on Wednesday. We have 2 items on it.
Do we have a discussion in that on the staff meeting?
No, that would need to be open meeting. But that'll be the topic. That is the topic for the work session.
Okay.
All right. Carissa?
Well, at that point, I move that we adjourn this meeting.
It's been moved by Mrs. Coates.
Second.
And seconded by Mrs. Clayton. All in favor?
Aye.
The meeting is adjourned. Thank you.